Oke, selamat sore dan good afternoon, and welcome back to our cybersecurity class. This is our fifth class. Kelas kelima ini kita akan membahas tentang bandwidth management. Nah, maybe some of you wonder why do we have to discuss bandwidth management? Kenapa kita membahas bandwidth management di cybersecurity? Itu karena cybersecurity is one way of security defense. Dia adalah salah satu cara untuk melakukan pertahanan. So, if there is an attack, either from the inside or from outside of our network, then we can limit its bandwidth instead of reject its bandwidth. Jadi, daripada kita menolak atau mereject paket-paket serangan tadi, akan lebih baik, it's better to limit its bandwidth, kita kecilkan bandwidthnya, sehingga si penyerang akan merasa bahwa the attacker will think that they are still doing an attack, although that attack is not going to work properly. Tidak akan bekerja dengan maksimal karena kita perkecil bandwidthnya. Jadi, instead of rejecting the packet of the attacker, now we're going to just limit its bandwidth. So the attacker will think that they are still doing an attack. Maybe they are using some tools, and that specific tool will think that they are still doing some attack, although the impact of the attack, efek dari serangan tadi, is in minimal. Jadi minimal sekali. Nah, itu alasan kenapa kita mempelajari bandwidth management di cyber security. Nah, pertama kita akan bahas sedikit tentang bandwidth management, bedanya dengan traffic shaper. Nah, kalau traffic shaper, kita akan mengatur bandwidth-nya. Misalnya, for example, so what is the difference between bandwidth management and traffic shaper? In traffic shaper, we're going to create a specific pipe in this case. So we're going to classify each class. For example, this is for the lecturer and this is for student. And we're going to separate the bandwidth. For lecturer, we're going to give, for example, 1 gigabit per second. And for a student, we're going to give 2 gigabit per second. So we're going to first classify the packets and then put that packets into a specific pipe, for example. Jadi kalau kita akan melakukan pengaturan bandwidth, kita biasa menggunakan, pertama adalah mengklasifikasikan usernya terlebih dahulu, classify the user, apakah ini dosen atau mahasiswa, dan kalau dia dosen, dia akan masuk pipa yang ini, dan kalau dia adalah mahasiswa, dia akan masuk pipa yang ini. Nah, let's think about at night, there is no lecturer in the campus. Nobody want to work at night, right? For the lecturer. However, the student, they prefer to work at night because at midday, at daytime, they're going to a class, or maybe doing practice in lab, etc., or maybe just hang out with friends. But at night, they're going to live at night, and then they are going to use the bandwidth on the internet. So, kalau malam hari tidak ada dosen di kampus, tapi mahasiswa justru banyak yang aktif di kampus pada malam hari. Nah, if we are using traffic shaper, kalau kita menggunakan traffic shaper, maka pipa yang tadi kita assign untuk dosen tidak bisa digunakan oleh mahasiswa. So if we are using the traffic shaper, even though there are no lecturer at night, student cannot use this pipe. So they are still going to use the 2 gigabit per second pipe. That's traffic shaper. But in bandwidth management, di bandwidth management, kita bisa melakukan prioritas. Dosen jadi kelas 1, mahasiswa kelas 2. Kalau kelas 1 kosong, maka kelas 2 boleh mengisi ke atasnya, sehingga mahasiswa mendapatkan total 3 gigabit per second. So, in bandwidth management, we're going to create a priority. Let's take, for example, lecturer. We're going to give lecturer as priority number 1 and student as priority number 2. So, at night, when there are no lecturer in campus, this pipe is empty. And then, priority number 2, which is student, can use all of the pipes. So at night, student can use up to 3 gigabit per second. Okay, that's bandwidth management. So if there are empty pipe, another pipe can use that pipe. That's bandwidth management. But in traffic shaper, if one pipe is empty, then nobody else can use that empty pipe. That traffic shaper. That's the difference between traffic shaper and bandwidth management. Itu perbedaan antara traffic shaper dengan bandwidth management. Oke, jadi kalau bandwidth management dia bisa sharing bandwidth, bisa digabung aja di satu. Tapi kalau traffic shaper sudah static. Okay. Now, let's start with our virtual machine. We're going to use Windows 98 client. Okay, Windows 98 client, start. Okay, wait a few seconds, and then we're going to sorry, start the router. Okay, now the last one is starting the server. Okay, now we're going to wait for a few minutes. Okay. Okay, clients ready, router resource ready, root and cyber security, dan server juga ready. Now, the lecture note. First, we're going to capture, okay, maybe we're going to skip this one, but if you want to, well, if you want to learn more about how the packet works in the bandwidth management, we can use the TCP dump, but right now we're not going to use the TCP dump. So we're going to skip number 1. Okay, let's move on to the number 2. Wait. Okay, log into router as root with password security and run. Okay. Log into router and then do okay. Now, in bandwidth management or traffic shaper, we have 2 options of creating bandwidth management. First one is on the operating system level, and the second one is on the application level. In bandwidth management, we tend to use the operating system level because it's very fast. Remember that in bandwidth management, it's going to consume lots of resource. Jadi di bandwidth management kita memiliki 2 pilihan. Pertama adalah di level sistem operasi dan kedua is on the application layer. Kalau kita ingin menggunakan bandwidth management, disarankan memang menggunakan yang level sistem operasi. Kenapa? Because in operating system is directly connected to the hardware. So remember that in bandwidth management, di bandwidth management dia akan sangat menghabiskan resource. Kenapa? Karena di bandwidth management dia akan selalu mengecek ada yang kosong tidak? Is there any empty space in here? Even though there is only a small fraction of empty bandwidth in here, then you need to share with the next priority. So they need to check, evaluate, and then share the bandwidth, and then check again if it is already full, then okay. Then check again, oh, someone from the priority 1 want to access the pipe, then we have to move to the priority number 2, etc. So it's going to take lots of resource. Jadi, di manajemen karena dia membutuhkan banyak resource, CPU, network, bandwidth, dan juga memory. So, it is recommended for you to use the operating system level. Nah, di sistem operasi, in operating system level, when we are trying to create a traffic shaper, in this class we're going to use traffic shaper, not bandwidth management. In traffic shaper, we're going to create something that we call pipe. Pipe means we're going to create a virtual pipe for every package from our NIC, network interface card, to the memory of the network interface card. Remember, in operating system, they allocate a specific portion of memory to serve packets from the network. Jadi, pada setiap sistem operasi, mereka akan mengalokasikan sebagian dari memorinya untuk menyimpan informasi yang berasal dari network. in Unix, that portion of memory is called network memory buffer, NMB. So NMB is portion of the memory that's going to serve all communication from or to the network. Now, if we want to create a traffic shaper in the operating system level, jadi kalau kita mau bikin traffic shaper di level OS, we're going to create a virtual pipe. Kita akan membuat virtual pipe, virtual pipa, yang berasal dari network interface card ke NMB, network memory buffer tadi. Oke. Nah, here, because we are using the FreeBSD, we're going to use a specific module, we call it KLD, to work as a traffic shaper. Kita bisa menggunakan modul bawaan dari FreeBSD, namanya Daminet.ko. This Daminet.ko, this module will serve as a traffic shaper. Okay, so we're going to KLD load Daminet.ko. Okay, Daminet already active. And then let's check our firewall, IPFW show. Okay. In IPFW show, there is only one rule, which is denying everything. So we're going to first create the pipe, for example, like this, IPFW pipe 1, and then we're going to set this pipe 1 with bandwidth of 1 kilobit per second only. So the virtual pipe, we're going to create this virtual pipe with 1 kilobit per second bandwidth. And then its QE is also 1 kilobytes. Okay. Now we're going to create the second pipe. Why do we need two pipes? That's because one pipe is only for one way. So we're going to create two pipes. One is for accepting packet from the network to the NMB, and the other pipe is for transferring data from the NMB, network memory buffer, to the network. So we're going to have two virtual pipe. One is for incoming and one is for outgoing. So we're going to create pipe 2 with the same configuration. The bandwidth is 1 kilobit per second, and the QE is a similar part of the memory for the for queuing, for the packets arriving, then they're going to take to the QE, etc. And if it is more than the QE, then we're going to reject it. Okay, we already create two virtual pipes. Now we're going to create the QE, IPFW QE1 is a configuration for pipe 1, which comes from source IP address of /24, the net mask. Why /24? Because our intranet is /24. Remember? Client has an IP address of 192.168.56.112. Dan router has the IP address of 192.168.56.113. And then we have kita punya seperti ini. Jadi servernya adalah 192.168.1101. Nah, karena kita ingin mengatur bandwidth, dan kita perhatikan di sini, as you can see in here, this LAN has a subnet with the masking of /24. Jadi dia punya subnet dengan garing 24. Karena inilah subnet ID-nya dan inilah host ID-nya. Sementara untuk di sisi satunya lagi, the other side or the other home, this is the subnet ID, and this is the host ID. Jadi sama-sama /24. Oke. Jadi QW1 kita configuration with the source IP of /24. Now QW2 for pipe 2 with destination IP of this /24 also. Okay. Now we already create the virtual pipe and also the masking for the query. Now we're going to assign this pipe into the firewall. Now we're going to create IPFW add. Jadi kita sudah membuat dua virtual pipe dan juga kita sudah mengatur masking dari siapa saja yang boleh masuk ke pipe 1 dan pipe 2 melalui QW1 dan QW2. Maka kita akan sekarang menambahkan kedua pipe tersebut, kedua pipa tersebut di firewall kita. IPFW add 1000 QW1 allow all from 192.168.56.024 to 192.168 101. Okay. Next is the rule number 1104 QW number 2. QW number 2 allow all from, now this is for the return for packets from the server to the intranet. Okay. So IPFW show. Now rule number 1000 is for virtual pipe for outgoing. Outgoing means from client to server. Okay. From client to server. And then rule number 1100 is for pipe 2 untuk pipa kedua, which allow us to limit the bandwidth for every traffic from the server to, oh, this is not correct one. Okay, sorry, IPFW delete 1100. Sorry, this is not 101, but will be 024. Okay, IPFW show. Now, this is the correct one. Jadi QW1 rule number 1000 akan mengatur traffic dari klien ke server, dan rule nomor 1100 akan mengatur pipa, di mana pipa itu adalah traffic dari server ke klien. Oke. Nah, sekarang kita coba untuk menggunakannya. Tapi sebelum itu kita coba dulu disable dulu firewall-nya untuk memastikan bahwa kita bisa mengakses server. Dan sebelum mengakses servernya, seperti biasa, as usual, in the server we're going to check if there is any access to the web server. Okay, let's give some space in here so we can understand that this is a new log. Now, Explorer. Still using the VPN. So we're going to connection. Okay, we're going to remove this one. And then we're not going to use the proxy. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to start to access the server 192.168.1.101. Nah, seperti yang terlihat di sini, as we can see in here, the client has successfully accessed the web server, and in the web server, we understand that there is an access from the client 56.112. Oke, jadi kita bisa melihat bahwa klien berhasil mengakses server dengan cepat. Sekarang kita coba untuk menghapusnya lagi. Menghapus seluruh web cache di web browser. Oke. Sudah. Dan ini kita berikan enter to give space. Nah, sekarang akan mencoba untuk mengaktifkan firewall-nya agar the traffic shaper is active. Okay, so we're going to enable the firewall. So the traffic shaper will be active. IPFW enable firewall. Oke. Sekarang kita coba. Enter. Oke, terlihat, as you can see here, opening page. Oke. There is an access log into the server. It said that a client with the IP address of 56.112 is trying to access me by sending get method. However, remember that there's not the only access, because after that they will need to access another image. For example, the Apache feather in here, feather, and then the icon for the OpenSSL, icon for the mode SSL, etc., and also the icon of Apache. But still trying to retrieve the index.html. Okay, as you can see here, actually there is already some picture in here. But it's still trying to access again. But still this session is only trying to retrieve the text. Like for example, Apache web server, and then what else? Apache web server, software, and the interface, OpenSSL, mode SSL, and then okay, attention. Now what? If you are seeing this page instead of the site that you expected, and then what else? I think still stuck in here. So we're still trying to retrieve the index.html, the text file. And after this, they are going to try to access the image. For example, the Apache, and then the mode SSL GIF, OpenSSL GIF, weather, etc. Okay, so as you can see in here, we have limit the bandwidth of the client when trying to access the server. As you can see in here, IPFW show. So it's not 0 anymore, but it said that there are 36 packets matched to this rule. This is the outgoing pipe. And for the incoming pipe, I detected, or I counted 44 packets. Next, 73 packets already sent for outgoing, and 52 packets is retrieved from the server. As you can see in here, the outgoing is more than the incoming. So the packets sent from client to server more than the server response to the client. So that means there are many packets rejected by the router because it's too crowded. It's more than the query, memory. Because we already said earlier that the query memory is only for 1 kilobytes. Okay, still waiting. Okay, now it is trying to download the image, the mode SSL, and then OpenSSL, etc. in here. 2 items remaining, downloading picture. Oke, kita sudah membuktikan, we already proved that the traffic shaper is already working. Kita sudah membuktikan bahwa traffic shaper sudah bekerja dengan melihat bahwa kecepatan aksesnya sudah sangat kecil, sehingga aksesnya itu menjadi sangat lambat. Oke. Nah, inilah yang kita lakukan untuk membatasi bandwidth. Bisa di level OS, dalam hal ini kita menggunakan firewall dengan bantuan Daminet. Nah, sekarang now we going to we already prove the traffic shaper is working at the operating system level by creating a virtual pipe, and now we're going to create a traffic shaper but on the application layer. Okay. So what is your conclusion about this one? The traffic is very slow. First is trying to finish the retrieving the index.html, and after that, then the client will try to download the image. And as you can see in here, only 2 images successfully downloaded by client. Hanya 2 image yang berhasil di-download oleh klien, sementara harusnya ada 4. Feather.jpg. Oke, ini sama. OpenSSL, ICS-GIF, dan kemudian ada 3. Ada Apache, dan juga ada Mode SSL. Ada 3 gambar yang harusnya di-download oleh klien. Tapi, when we are trying to limit the bandwidth, it only successfully download 2 images. So that's why in the client, sometimes we can see that there is a block of white and then a red cross in here, meaning that it's supposed to be image there, but I failed to download the image. That's on the client side. Okay. Here, like this. It's supposed to be an image here, but I failed to download this image. Okay, and then what is another conclusion is by using bandwidth limitation or traffic shaper in here, there will be several packets will become error. So they are going to request again, because as we can see in here, seperti kita lihat di sini, the number of outgoing packets for the request packets is more than the response packets. It's supposed to be the response is much more bigger than the request. So it's supposed to be this one is smaller than this one. But in here, the request is more than the response. That's because lots of the packets is going rejected by the pipe, especially by the query. Okay. Now we're going to try the traffic shaper on the application level by using squid.proxy. Now, the difference between traffic shaper or bandwidth management on the operating system level with the application level, perbedaan antara traffic shaper atau manajemen di sistem operasi atau di application level adalah in application level, and application server, we're going to create the virtual pipe because we create pipe 1, pipe 2 to limit the bandwidth from the network interface card to the network memory buffer to the NMB. Okay. But in application layer, di aplikasi, we're not going to create pipe, but instead we're going to create bucket or ember. Jadi kita akan membuat dua buah ember. Ini adalah ember untuk traffic dosen, ini adalah ember untuk traffic mahasiswa. Nah, ember dia bisa kosong, bisa penuh, dan kalau sudah penuh dan airnya kita tambahkan, dia akan tumpah. So in bucket, they could be empty or half full or full. And if the bucket is already full, and then we're going to put some more water, then the water will be thrown away. The same case in bucket. Sama seperti paket. Kalau embernya sudah penuh, kita tambahin paket, dia nggak akan bisa masuk, tapi paket yang baru akan dibuang, tumpah. Oke. Jadi di application layer, kita akan membuat ember, bukan pipa. Sekarang kita akan membuat embernya. Oke, kita matikan terlebih dahulu firewall. IPFW disable firewall. Oke, kita coba lihat sekarang. After we disable the firewall, so the access supposed to be very fast. Nah, there it is. Very fast. Okay. Now this one I'm supposed to delete the web case, web browser case. Oke. Sekarang kembali ke router. Firewall sudah mati. Sekarang kita akan masuk ke konfigurasi squid. We're going to edit the squid.conf because that is the configuration for the proxy, because we're going to squid proxy. So we're going to use edit user local etc squid.conf. Oke. Kita akan menggunakan IP address ini untuk jalan masuk dari proxy. Ini HTTP port. Kemudian di bawahnya kita bisa menambahkan ini delay pools to, we're going to create 2 buckets, and then for the first bucket we're going to use bucket type or class number 1. There are 3 classes for the bucket. Jadi ada 3 kelas untuk bucket. Jadi Ember-nya bisa kita assign untuk bekerja dalam 3 mode. Delay class 1, that means the first bucket is a type 1 class. Type 1 bucket. In type 1 bucket, we're going to use aggregate. Well, you can check the squid.conf configuration, the full configuration. What is the meaning of that type? Okay, we're going to explain that after this. And then for the bucket number 2, it's going also type 1. Delay class 2, bucket number 2 is also type 1. And then the delay parameter for the bucket number 1 is 10, which means the aggregate for all of the traffic for bucket number 1 is 10 bytes. 10 bits per second. It's very small. And then for each of user inside that bucket, we can also configure as 10 bytes maximum. This is for the incoming. This is for the outgoing. So the first number is for incoming, and the second number is for outgoing. The first set is for the aggregate, for everything that's going to be put on the Ember 1. Jadi agregasi atau total seluruh paket yang akan masuk ke bucket 1 itu berapa. Dan set yang kedua, the second set is to explain for each individual inside that aggregate, untuk setiap orang yang masuk ke dalam aggregate ke Ember 1, itu mau dikasih berapa. Kita bisa atur. Jadi kita coba bikin sama saja. Dan untuk bucket nomor 2, ini sama 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Oke. Sudah. Kita save. Kemudian kita restart. So, we can restart the squid by using user log. Let's see, rc.d squid stop. Okay, and then start. Oke, nah sekarang kita akan mencoba untuk ini yang tadi. Sekarang kita akan mencoba untuk mengakses server dari klien, dan jangan lupa untuk melihat trafiknya. Trafik dari proxy. Oke. Dan jangan lupa kita harus mengaktifkan proxy. So don't forget, because we are going to use proxy, then we're going to set up the client to use the proxy. Explorer, option. Oke, baru keluar. Connection, LAN setting, and then use a proxy server with the IP address of 192.168.56.113. This address. Okay. And then okay. And then okay. Sekarang kita coba untuk mengaksesnya. 192.168.1.101. Oke, saya lupa apakah tadi sudah menghapus webcast-nya. Kita hapus dulu lagi ya. Oke, dan enter. Sini mencoba untuk mengakses. Masih berputar-putar. Still trying to access the server. And then, oh, the request already received by the server. So right now it's trying to retrieve what is the content of index.html. Jadi klien saat ini sedang mencoba untuk mengakses, meretrieve isi dari file index.html. Dan sepertinya kita terlalu kecil mengassign ininya, mengassign apa namanya? Mengassign traffic savernya hanya 10 bit per second. Sementara tadi di sini kita mengsetnya 1 kilobit per second. Kita tunggu saja. Still trying to retrieve. As we can see here, the globe and the Microsoft logo is still trying to access or retrieve the file. Okay. Hey, it worked. The SSL/TL where Apache web server was successfully installed on this website. If you can see this page, then the people who own this website have just installed the Apache web server. Oh, it's already download the feather.jpg while it's still trying to downloading the content of the index.html. And as you can see here, seperti kita lihat di sini, dia adalah hit. Jadi dia mendapatkan weather.jpg bukan dari server, tapi dari proxy web cache-nya. Proxy cache-nya. Web cache dari proxy. Okay, still trying to complete the loading the website. Okay, we're still expecting for some more words in here. And after that, there's supposed to be 3 images. Okay. Especially also with the mode SSL user manual carefully. You are allowed to use the image below on your SSL aware Apache web server. Thanks for using Apache, Mode SSL, and OpenSSL. So now there's supposed to be 3 images. Okay. Just like in the log of the server, you can see that there is an access for the apache_pb.gif. Still trying, still opening. Okay, the placeholder already there. This is supposed to be an image of Apache web server, and this one is for the multi-cell interface. Okay, we have seen that for the Apache, and then supposed to be ModSSL in here, and also supposed to be one other is OpenSSL. So they're trying to access the OpenSSL _ICS. Okay, we have the ModSSL now. Now the last one is the OpenSSL. And then after that, it's completed. Now, as we can see here, we already limit the bandwidth between the client to the server by using either operating system level, by using the mainnet in this case, and also on the application layer. And in this case, we are using the Squid proxy. And then if we are using the operating system level traffic server, we're going to create a pipe to limit the bandwidth between the network interface card to the network memory buffer. But in application layer, we cannot create pipe. Instead, we're going to create bucket. Okay. So in bucket, just like bucket, we can fill the bucket, and if the bucket is already full, then the next packets will going to be thrown away. Jadi kalau bucket sudah penuh, ada paket baru datang, dia akan dibuang. Jadi kalau di aplikasi kita akan membuat ember. Kita nggak bisa bikin pipa. Pipa hanya bisa kita gunakan di sistem operasi. level. Oke. Nah, ada banyak aplikasi yang bisa menyediakan traffic shaping. Tidak hanya script proxy, tapi ada banyak sekali. Dan one important thing, remember that bandwidth management, an event traffic shaper, is going to consume lots of resources, like network memory buffer, and then CPU, and also the RAM. Your RAM will be going to be exhausted. Okay. Nah, kalau kita menggunakan di level aplikasi, maka dia akan jadi lebih banyak resource yang dibutuhkan dibandingkan di level sistem operasi. Oke, any question about the traffic shaping? Remember, this is only traffic shaping. We're not going to use the bandwidth management. But if you want, you can try to access my blog, although this one is in Bahasa. Newmankan.id, and then this one. This one is for the bandwidth management, but you need to recompile the kernel. Recompile the kernel so it can accept, for example, ALT-Q. Or maybe there are several others scheduling algorithm, because ALT-Q is scheduling algorithm. And then we're going to create this ALT-Q. We're going to use the CBQ, RAD, RIO, HFSC, CDNR, PRIQ. Ini adalah beberapa scheduling algorithm, CBQ, RAD, RIO, HFSC, CDNR, PRIQ. Ini adalah scheduling algorithm. Tapi metodenya menggunakan ALT-Q. Oke. Kalau teman-teman ingin lihat, you can visit the Wikipedia and then try to open the bandwidth management. Bandwidth management. Oh, sorry. Okay. So in schedule algorithm, we have the WFQ and then CBQ, weighted round robin, and then deficit weighted round robin, and then hierarchical Versware curve. But this is for a scheduling algorithm. But for the congestion avoidance, we can to use RAD, WRAD, weighted RAD, etc. There are several scheduling algorithm and also congestion avoidance, also the traffic shaping or rate limiting available for you to well, practice. This is what we call token bucket in the script proxy. We use the token bucket. Okay, any question so far? Oke, if not, then kalau tidak ada pertanyaan, kita cukup sampai sekian. Nanti saya upload yang lecture note 5-nya untuk teman-teman bisa mencoba sendiri. Dan jangan lupa untuk mengerjakan quiz 5. Don't forget to do the quiz number 5 because this quiz will be counted as a component in your final score. Okay, only 5 questions, I believe. But remember, this is only 10 minutes limit. And also no reattempt, only one attempt allowed. And starting from 4 p.m., starting from now until tonight, 11:59 p.m. Okay, I think that's all for today, and thank you for coming, and I'll see you next week then. Thank you.